thought it was good for me to reread, and I thought this would be good for any of us to kind of look at a little bit deeper, is just the art of inviting. And one of the workshops we sat through, they talked about this and just had some good tips, good practical tips. And really my favorite takeaway from it was some questions that they asked us to consider answering in order to more authentically share who we are on social media, which can lead to invitations. And those are questions that I need to sit down with and probably like journal out, because they were very thought-provoking, like good questions that I don't know that I've ever really thought through when making social media posts. So that's kind of what we're going to chat about tonight. And it's going to be brief, but then just wanted to open it up at the end for anything that y'all want to chat about. Maybe that's how your week's going, anything you want to talk about or get feedback or input on, we can totally do that. So be thinking if there's something that you want to bring up and talk about at the end. So just a couple of announcements. Our Lift 4 group starts July 16th. I just posted in the challenge group tonight for people to let me know if they want the Challenge Tracker app invite. That is a separate Challenge Tracker app group just for the purpose of accountability and recognition. So make sure that your challengers who are doing Lift 4 know that. I already had one of mine comment on there saying that she's already in it, but she's not, because I just created it today and I have not invited anyone to it. But I think she's getting it confused with just the regular Challenge Tracker app group, the general one. And who knows, moving forward, this may be too complicated of a process, but I wanted to try it and just kind of do a trial with it and see if it's beneficial when we have like a new program or a new group that we start, like having a separate place for that to be tracked. Just because now at the end of every week, we can say, here's our Lift 4 movers and shakers for the week, you know, and just kind of recognizing those people who specifically are doing that program, which might generate interest for those that aren't doing it yet to start the next month or the next month. And that's the next point I have on here is, you know, once July 16th passes, you still have something to invite to. Like, you should be sharing your story with Lift 4 if you're doing it and saying, you know, we're going to start another round mid-August. And I haven't looked up the exact date, but it'll be, you know, at the 4 weeks in to the first one, like say, okay, we're going to start a new group. So those of you who weren't quite ready to start July 16th, we're going to start another one mid-August for anyone that wants to. And we'll continue that into October, which is when it releases for those who don't want to buy the early access now. We definitely want to have a group ready for them mid-October, which will, by that point, lead us into, what program is it? The Shift Shop, like, what's it called?
Relaunch or something?
Yeah, it's
the grounds, the Shift Shop training ground, proving grounds. Yeah. That's the one.
So, yeah, that'll come out around that time too. So we'll have plenty to invite to, but just don't think, sorry, come here. You're okay. You're okay. The boys went to bed at 6 tonight because, it's okay, come sit with me. Because we kept him up till midnight, and when Bear goes to bed early, he wakes up 2 hours. Pretty upset. It's okay. Sorry. So, anyways, don't think that you don't have anything to invite to after July 16th. You still absolutely can just start another round and invite people, because a lot of people, y'all know this, a lot of people want to watch for a while before they join. And so a lot of people that aren't ready for this first round may be ready for future groups. It's okay. So just a reminder for Summit 2019, the 130 price ends July 9th. That's like Monday, I think. So as of right now, I think we have 3 more spots left in our rooming. And of course we can add more to that at any time. It doesn't mean like if you don't get in now, you know, that you won't have a place to stay. Like, we'll find you a place to stay. But in the rooms that I've secured and paid the deposit for, there's 3 more spots left. So can y'all hear me over him? Okay. It's okay. All right, so recognition. I did post this in our groups today, but I thought this would be a fun way to kind of recognize coaches, even in our challenge group, and encourage, discount coaches to share with people and see that, kind of recognize their activity as well. And so, you okay? You're okay. You're okay. So anyways, we're just, here's some recognition from the past week. And so this doesn't necessarily reflect success club points. Okay, just a second, y'all. So, anyways, well done. And what I was saying, it doesn't necessarily reflect success club points because July 1st has been in the middle of the past week. Okay. What do you mean? Sorry, y'all, just a second. So sorry, y'all. Can't even figure out how to mute it on this. Okay, so moving along. So like I was saying, this was something that they shared about at Summit in one of the workshops. And just wanted to kind of remind myself and those of y'all, even if you weren't at Summit, I think this is stuff that you've probably heard before at some point, but I know several of us are pushing to invite more right now. And so I think these are good things to remember. In our inviting, no matter what our goal is, whether we want to invite friends and family or 5 people a day or 20 people a day, we need to remember that we're not wanting to sell, we're wanting to relate to people, that there is a greater reason and purpose behind us inviting people than making money. And I think we all know that deep down, but sometimes we can lose sight of that. And when we do, I think it really messes with our head, and it affects our motivation for inviting and really causes a lot of doubts and a lack of confidence. And so I think it's good for us to remember and put in front of ourselves every single day why we're doing this. Regardless of what it is you're doing, why are you doing it? Are you doing it because it's made a difference in your life and you're wanting to share that with others? Are you doing it because you thought of this person for XYZ reason and you would love to see, them benefit from it like you have? Like what is your why behind it? I think that's very, very important to remind ourselves of that often. And then they made this point, like, play to your strengths and your passions. We're going to look on the next slide at specific ways to do that. But if your goal is to invite however many people a day, however many people a week, you don't want to spend time being distracted. You want to spend time inviting. And I love, especially for newer coaches, I think this is so important. We need to spend more time developing ourselves and our brand more than searching for it in everyone else. And I think it's easy as a new and even a seasoned coach to get to looking at other coaches too much and feeling like we have to look like them or be like them. And that's just a distraction. I've shared this with y'all before, but I have two main coaches, top coaches that I follow, and I don't look at them every day. I follow them maybe a few times a week just to get an idea of the clues they're leaving for how they're being successful. And those are two coaches that inspire me, not two coaches that make me feel inadequate or, unable to do this business. So just choose wisely who you follow and choose wisely how much you look at them, if that makes sense. So how to share your message. These are the questions that I would really encourage you to jot down and consider and maybe write out on a weekend or sometime during, I call it like the extra business time. So when you're not doing your vitals or your, like power hour work, and you're just kind of thinking, how can I be more intentional with my post, with sharing who I am in a way that leads to invitations? I think this is really, really key. And I love, before we get into the questions, I love the point they made about you can confidently and boldly be an expert because you are in your story. Like, no one else is an expert in your story other than you. And so you may not be an expert in my story, and I may not be an expert in your story, but there's only one expert of each of our stories, and that's who it belongs to. And so we can be confident in that. We can be bold in sharing our specific journey. I think when we get to trying and imitating others' journeys and sharing someone else's story, like, that's when it becomes very inauthentic and just feels, not real. So just some of these questions, like, how do you overcome things? That looks differently for all of us. There's different ways that we deal with struggles. What do you struggle with? What do you get asked the most? Like, what do people just randomly ask you about? Right now we're in a season of ministry. We're in a season of student camps, and I get asked all sorts of things as the worship leader's wife, like just random things that people will ask. What do you get asked the most? What would you win an award for? I think that would be a fun thing to just kind of think through. Like, I was thinking, the first thing that popped to my mind was, this summer I could win an award for, like, the days I've skipped taking showers, like just something ridiculous, like in whatever season you're in, what would you get an award for? And it doesn't have to be anything that, you think is super admirable, but just something that tells a little bit about you. What do you geek out over? I think Lindsay and I were talking about this at one point, like, that's Harry Potter for me. Like, and that's the answer to the last question too. I could talk about Harry Potter for hours, and I have, literally, I've talked about it for hours with people. So, like, don't separate these fun facts about yourself. Don't separate it from who you are on social media. And I need to get better about that, because a lot of times I'm thinking, well, how in the world does Harry Potter like have anything to do with my business? But if that's something that I could spend hours talking about, like I want to find people that could spend hours talking about it too, you know, like that have similar interests. And it just makes it more fun, and I think less intimidating for how to find your brand or develop your brand or your story. It's just thinking through these questions, not necessarily as it relates to health and fitness, but just you as a person. So they gave a few tips and tricks for how to invite in 2018. You know, polls is a really great way to get conversations going with people. They now have the little like slider bar for like how much you love something. Like I used that the other day on like how much do you love pizza like I do, and like a lot of people just like will swap on that just to engage with you. And so if people are engaging with your stories, like they're following you. That's considered a follower, and so they're great people to have conversations with, to connect with, build relationships, trust with. The 5-3-1 rule, we've talked about this some. You know, when you're finding people on Instagram, liking 5 of their photos, commenting on 3 of them, and then maybe following them or messaging them. Giveaways are a great way to grow your following. You know, asking people, follow me, then tag a friend, and then sharing your stories to enter this giveaway. And giveaways don't have to be anything pricey or expensive. It's just something that you find valuable, that your people would find valuable. The most successful one I've ever done was just a personal development book. I picked like 5 or 6 of my favorite personal development books, took a picture with them, and said I would give whichever one away to whoever the winner was, like whichever one they chose. And to enter the giveaway, people just had to write in the comments which book they would choose and share the post. And so it's super simple. And that was a way that I could kind of share about how this business has transformed my life, because personal development has been huge. And so, you know, there's ways to share different things through giveaways, and it doesn't have to be something super expensive. You know, you want to share testimonies and transformations, not just of yourself, but of other coaches on our team, of challengers in our challenge group. I'm loving all of the non-scale victories that people are sharing in our challenge group right now. Like a mom who can jump on a trampoline park with her kids, like something she would not have been able to do previously. A young mom who now can fit back into her wedding ring for the first time in like over a year. Like those are awesome stories to share. And if you want to share them, I mean, you can share them about people anonymously. Like you can just go on your stories and say, hey, someone just posted this in our group, and it's so like exciting to celebrate that with them. Or if you want to share a picture or an actual post, just ask their permission to do it. You definitely want to get their permission before you just repost something outside of the group. But that's so powerful to share other people's stories and transformations. Just remember, in your communication with people, voice memos, videos go a long way. When someone asks me a question like on my stories, I try to always respond in video if they're like wanting to know something. So for example, somebody asked me last night, I don't know if y'all saw my stories last night, but I could not get food on the 4th of July for dinner for anything. Like Chick-fil-A was closed 9 minutes after or before I got there. I ordered Panera and I went to the wrong Panera bread. Like it was just a mess. And so someone responded to my story and said, and she's a new challenger, but she responded to my story and said, sorry about all the bad luck, but could you tell me what you order at each of those places? Because we're going to be on the go a lot, and I would like to know like how to order healthy options at those restaurants. And so I just responded in a video message. You know, I think it took up 2 15-second segments. Super quick, super easy, but it's just a great way for people to continue to get to know you and for you to be held accountable to being authentic. Because when you're you know, being forced to speak or do video, like you don't have much time to craft a response. You just have to be you. And so just along with that, being vulnerable and imperfect in our photos and posts is super crucial. So they kind of concluded by saying, you know, if you're wanting to build a business, if you don't invite, you don't have a business. Now, obviously, I know Annie's on this call and her goals differ a bit, and we're wanting to create a culture where more coaches don't feel this pressure to invite and don't even use that language, but it's just sharing. So it's not like an active building a business, but just sharing, and there being a place for that. And so that does not apply to this. But if you're a business builder and if you have specific business goals, if you're not actively inviting, you're not going to grow a business. Like, you just kind of, it's not going to be a business. It's just going to be, I'm sharing and I'm helping a few people, but there's different goals there. So it's important to recognize that. So usually we ask these questions at the end of this, what was your biggest takeaway? What do you think you need to do differently? What can you implement now? And along with that, I'll just say, I'll just kind of open the floor up for anything you want to talk about, any questions. I would love to hear successes or victories from the week. If there's something you're struggling with and you want some feedback or input on, like, let's definitely talk about that. So yeah, just kind of, that's all I've got for tonight. I just want to hear from y'all if y'all have anything y'all want to chat about.
So I listened to the National Wake Up Call, like, as I was cooking dinner tonight, because I didn't know we were going to talk about it, and I went, oh crap. It was like a little bit, she just kind of went more in depth than what she talked about at Summit, but she gave like a lot of like practical, like specific ways, which was helpful. And one of the things that she talked about, which we talked about this at Summit, but like customer retention and how to, like, not just for the sake of retention, but making sure that what you're promising, like through your posts or your social media, is not better than what they're receiving once they sign up. And I, for a while, have known, like, I think that that's what I'm doing. I don't feel like I'm really, like, once they sign up, I feel confident that they have all of the tools to have a great experience. But if they don't, like, just take it and run with it, then I don't feel like I'm doing a very good job of really, like, I don't know, keeping up with them and walking with them. And I think part of that is, it's my personality is like, I'm going to either decide to do it and I'm going to do it, or I'm not going to do it, and then no one's going to convince me. And so I just, like, assume that other people are that way, which is not true. But and I'm trying to think, I'm, like, still processing, but she gave a few different ideas that were really good for, like, making sure that, and they all just left my head, but making sure that you are, like, supporting them and that they're getting more from you behind the scenes than they are, like, you don't want them to get to the point where they're like, well, I don't need to keep actually working with you, because, like, I get everything just from reading your posts, and so it doesn't really matter. And I have not had great success with people like continuing. I mean, they've kind of gone in and out, like, which I know is normal, but I feel like the number of people and the relationships that I've had with people that have signed up aren't what I would have expected. I don't know, more people have, like, not continued either with the shakes or whatever. And so right now I'm trying to figure out the balance of, like, not, because I'm also have control freak tendencies, and so not feeling like it is my responsibility whether they do a workout every day and whether they do, like, to a certain extent they have to take ownership, but also, like, I do want to continue to support them and to be there for them, and I don't want to feel like I'm being dishonest. And so I think having the Facebook group helps me a lot with that, because I don't feel like I'm having to worry about creating a community for them anymore with other challengers, which was a struggle in the past. And so maybe I can just focus more on, like, my one-on-one accountability, and I need to get better at, like, asking better questions, I think, other than just, like, how's your week going? Yeah. So I don't know, I'm still, like, processing through it.
I'm gonna share my screen again, because that's actually been on my mind a lot lately. And I spent a couple hours working on it tonight. I'm gonna pull this up. This is on our team drive, so y'all have access to it if you want to look at it. But basically what I did tonight This is Ruth Schroner is a top coach, and this is how she cultivates Shakeology retention in her challengers. And she has examples. Of course, y'all have seen some of the stuff I've posted in the challenge group, the sip on this. Those are her posts. But just if you go to challenge group content, it's a PDF in there, Shakeology post for challenge groups. And it's got a full month's worth of educational posts on Shakeology that you can put in a challenge group. But in addition to it, these first few are like individual messages to challengers. And so this one is, I edited this. It's basically what is in the app, the challenge tracker app, Invite. And I edited it on both our general challenge tracker app as well as the Lift 4 one that everyone will be receiving. But it kind of lays out some expectations and has them do a pre-challenge group evaluation of how they're feeling. Or no, that's later on. So this is just kind of expectations, as well as like, why is Shakeology so important? Like, watch this video real quick. And then there's a message that you can see here that's like 1 to 2 days before the challenge group starts. And this is where the pre-evaluation comes in. And so what I did tonight was I went through and edited my own version of each of these. There's 1 to 2 days before. And then I also did, where is it? A week 1 check-in, a week 2 check-in, and a week 3 or 4 check-in, which has a post-evaluation. And so she kind of gives examples for, like, based on how they respond to your check-in, like things that you can say to them that really just encourage them to be consistent on their Shakeology. And so all I did tonight was I just went in and I created scripts from these in my connection builder so that when I get a challenger, I put them on the hottest temperature so that I'm checking in with them a few times a week. And hopefully I will remember that based on the week of the challenge, I send them one of these like kind of check-ins, because they do have really good pointed questions, and it's showing, you know, great customer service, great support. But anyways, this is kind of good to look through. And I really like the pre-evaluation form and the post-evaluation form. All it is just rating like their energy on a scale of 1 to 5, their digestion, their ability to focus during the day. Like, it's just really helpful stuff. And then when you send the post-group evaluation, you help them see, based on their activity, the changes. And then you help them kind of connect the dots of, you know, if you've been drinking Shakeology every day, and if you saw all these changes in your energy level and your digestion and, you know, all of these things, it's largely because of Shakeology, you know, and just like helping them understand that, it's super important to be drinking the shakes, especially when you're eating at a calorie deficit, and just that whole understanding of the diet cycle. So that's one thing that I was working on tonight, because I think one of the things Michelle said from stage was, like, we need to be inconveniencing ourselves in that first month with a challenger to really walk through it with them and help them. And so that's been on my mind too, is just kind of thinking through ways to do that. But I do like, I'm glad to know that the wake up call was a little different. I'll definitely listen to it, get some of those ideas.
I wished I wasn't cooking while I was listening to it, because it was one, like, it would have been really good to take notes on, because she gave very specific, like, here's 5 ways that you can do this, and here's what we do, and
that's awesome.
I don't remember any of them right now, but they were good.
What else? Y'all excited for Lift 4?
Yeah.
Are you excited? What is happening?
Nathaniel told me he was going to video himself in Switzerland doing it and send them to me. He said, we're going to get you all the followers.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I love that.
We'll see how it goes.
I got Colin in my videos with it.
You did.
I did. I was like, you're going to come closer. You have to be in my videos.
That's awesome.
Does he like him?
He does. I actually was talking to one of his buddies yesterday. We went out for the 4th of July, and they were talking about they have a nice new gym at work and that they might take it. And I said, well, I'll just log you in like on your phone. But, you know, if you do this more, I'm going to like enroll you as a coach. So just keep that in mind.
That's awesome.
Like, you could be the first leg, okay? Like, it's got to start somewhere.
Yes.
So I've been encouraged and discouraged with trying to like get people ready for Lift 4. So I had a list of like 10 people that I wanted to talk to, invite. And of that list, I've had one person say yes. It was mostly like previous customers that either like fell off the wagon or truthfully, I didn't do a good job of keeping in touch with. And so of them, one of them has agreed to do it, but so I don't know how to like reach out more to the other 9. But I've also been kind of encouraged because I've had like 4 other people like just randomly say, hey, I want to do this, sign me up now. So what are your thoughts? I'm getting a lot of like ghosting when I'm messaging those other 9, and I feel like I've tried to like have good conversations with them. You know, some of them have like totally valid reasons, like one of them just had a miscarriage, and so it's like, okay, this isn't the right time for you. But what are like, I don't want to stalk them, but how do I approach the ghosting a little bit smoothly?
Well, I would say 1 in 10 is the exact ratio that is normal. I mean, I've heard that from so many people that that's across the board. To get 1 yes, you've got to ask 10, and you know, get 9 no's. So I think that's normal. The 4 other people, that's super encouraging for sure.
Yeah.
The way I kind of handle ghosting is I check back in with them a month later. Okay. And just say, I kind of give them a chance to get off the hook with the fact that they didn't respond the first time, and just say, hey, I don't know if you saw my last message. I know it's easy to check messages and then forget to respond, but just wanted to check back in with you because my next round in my group is starting, and just wanted to see if the timing might be better for you. And then I'll send that same invite like every month, you know. And I've done that for a year while someone has ghosted me, and then they've responded and it's been the right time. Okay. Which I think, and that's happened several times. And so I think it just goes to show like it's not most of the time, I mean, I guess sometimes it could be, but most of the time it's not anything personal. It's just the timing's not right for them for whatever reason. Yeah. And like I told someone this today, that's not my personality. Like I would respond and tell somebody no, like I wouldn't just not respond, but that doesn't mean that everybody's personality is that way. And so I can't, you know, just get frustrated because they're not like me. I just have to understand, like, some people just don't, like, if they don't have a favorable answer, they won't respond. Yeah. And I remember, like, this is random, but I remember the Japanese culture was that way. Like, they would never tell you no. They would just be like, oh, maybe I have something that night. It's like, so no, right? Like on your calendar, you can't meet me for coffee that night. So don't say maybe. But they would just like hate to, you know, not give a favorable answer. So maybe, you know, I think some people's personalities are just that way.
Helps me mentally to just assume that they forgot too, because then like I don't take it personally or think like they hate me, they didn't even want to talk to me, like I must be so annoying. But if I just tell myself like they forgot, like they opened it, they read it, they didn't respond, I do that so many times, like, and I just assume that that's the case, and then that helps me